Welcome back to another deep dive. We've got something really wild for you today. But right off the bat, before we even get into it, I just want to ask you to please take a second to like and subscribe to the show.
Yeah, it really does make a huge difference for us.
It totally does. Because, we tackle some incredibly heavy, controversial material here. And your support is exactly what helps us keep these really extensive explorations coming to you.
Right, especially when we're looking at sources that are designed to be, well, completely polarizing.
Exactly. And speaking of polarizing, today's mission is a comprehensive review of this new ebook that came out in 2025. It's called The Family Crisis by Connie Riker. And I really want to hook you on this because it is ultra long, it's incredibly incisive, and it's just a fascinating read.
Oh, fascinating is one word for it. It's basically a literary Molotov cocktail.
Right. I mean, it's an ideological manifesto written for a very specific female supremacist feminist audience. And I mean an audience that is just, possessed by their negative animus.
Yeah, allied directly with cultural Marxists.
Exactly. And the whole thing is this relentless attack on masculinity and Western civilization as a whole. I mean, honestly, by the end of this deep dive, you might actually want to go buy this book just to experience the sheer audacity of these claims yourself.
You really kind of have to see it to believe it, because the scale of it is just staggering.
It really is. But, okay, before we wade into the madness, we need to set some ground rules with you, the listener. This book has some highly politically charged content. Left wing, right wing, whatever. We are not taking sides here.
No, definitely not.
We are absolutely not endorsing the viewpoints in this content, and we're not condemning them either. We're just your impartial guides today. We're simply trying to convey the ideas contained in the original source material.
Which is so important because, well, the text actively defies normal categorization. Early on, the author actually puts in this disclaimer describing the book as a work of edutainment.
Edutainment, right.
Yeah. She openly admits to using dark humor and distorted facts to push extremist rhetoric. She claims it gives her plausible deniability through this exaggerated satirical framing.
Which is wild. By calling it edutainment, she's basically telling us, hey, don't fact-check my claims. She's bending reality on purpose to make a point.
Right, so we aren't analyzing a scientific journal here. We're looking at weaponized rhetoric.
Exactly. So let's get into the first big nerve she hits, which is this complete assault on the concept of male merit, especially in the corporate world.
Oh yeah, Chapter 1 just comes out swinging against male competence.
She basically argues that male contributions to society are just a giant pyramid scheme, like confidence masquerading as competence.
And her examples are so unhinged, she brings up this startup founder, Karen Nguyen.
Oh, right. The one who supposedly fired all her male coders.
Yes, she fires every single male coder at her company in one afternoon, and the book claims that revenue just tripled overnight.
Because, according to her logic, men's problem-solving skills just involve solving their own incompetence, right?
Exactly. She says the female-led teams don't waste time in endless meetings debating whose code is cleaner. Removing the men was like removing a localized denial-of-service attack on the company's productivity.
A denial-of-service attack. That's such a brutal way to put it.
Well, she claims men demand constant bandwidth for their egos. So without them, the company regained all this emotional capital.
And it completely flips traditional corporate metrics, which leads right into that wild Iceland example she gives.
Oh, the 2022 board law.
Oh, yeah. This fictional law in Iceland where corporations are forced to have 80% women on their boards. And get this, she says they replaced traditional quarterly earnings reports with good vibes scores.
Good vibe scores. It's such a jab at ESG goals in modern finance.
Totally. And she claims that just by measuring how happy everyone is, Iceland's GDP supposedly rose by 50%. And there's this little parenthetical note where she says, you can find this in Forbes 2023, quote, if you ignore the footnotes.
She's practically winking at you while she destroys the drywall.
Right. But then she brings in this heavily distorted biological argument, too. The Harvard neuroscientists thing.
Oh, where she claims men's prefrontal cortices literally shrink.
Yes. By 12%, the exact moment a woman enters a meeting. And she uses this to explain why men interrupt 73% more often. Because they literally lose their higher reasoning skills when a woman threatens their dominance.
Which is just classic gender essentialism.
Right.
But weaponized.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that. Because this feels like a total funhouse mirror of 1950s gender essentialism. Back then they said women were too emotional for the boardroom.
Right, that their brains couldn't handle the stress.
Exactly. And now she's flipping it to say men's brains shrink because of fragile egos. But if she operates in this modern feminist framework, where gender is supposed to be a social construct, why rely so heavily on aggressive biological determinism? Doesn't that contradict her own side?
Oh, it absolutely undercuts it. But that contradiction is the engine of her satire. She's not trying to be logically consistent with feminist sociology. She's saying, you want to use biology against us? Fine, let's look at your biology.
It's a rhetorical revenge fantasy.
Exactly. So she frames male expertise as basically gaslighting with a PowerPoint, which justifies physically restricting them.
Right, because if the problem is biological, HR training isn't going to fix it, which is why she brings up that Zoom plugin.
The one that auto-mutes voices.
Yeah, it auto-mutes voices that drop below 440 hertz. She actually calls 440 hertz the frequency of entitlement.
The frequency of entitlement. It's such brilliant framing because it takes the deep baritone male voice, which society normally associates with leadership, and recategorizes it as auditory pollution.
Auditory pollution, exactly. And if you do manage to speak, she says you should get taxed for it. She proposes a tax on men's LinkedIn profiles.
Yeah.
Every time a man posts some thought leader piece about synergistic paradigms, it drains his bank account to fund a women's networking event.
Because male rationality is fundamentally flawed in her view.
Right. So if men are this toxic, biologically disruptive presence in the workplace, the next logical step in her crazy manifesto is to remove them from the actual air we breathe.
This is where we cross over into pure sci-fi absurdity.
Yeah, we go from the boardroom straight to the respiratory system.
Yeah.
The book introduces this concept called seology.
Segology, right? The biological war on men.
Yeah. She cites this fake 2022 Stanford study from the Department of Anthropology.
You really have to admire her commitment to the bit, manthropology.
It's so good. But anyway, the study is called Size of the Patriarchy, and it supposedly found that 78% of workplace microaggressions don't even come from spoken word.
No, they correlate with testosterone-laced exhalations, right?
Exactly. Heavy sighs, aggressive yawning, loud throat clearing. There's this anecdote about a woman who got her boss cited by HR for oxygen hoarding.
Oxygen hoarding, because he inhaled 12% more air during meetings.
Yeah, she literally timed him with a stopwatch. Yeah. And once he was fired for oxygen greed, productivity tripled. It's basically saying men's lungs are colonial outposts stealing atmospheric space.
It's like the ultimate escalation of the man-spreading discourse. Taking up physical space on a train is one thing, but taking up the invisible air.
It's wild. She even mentions a fictitious male breath tax in Tokyo.
Oh, right, where men have to wear specialized muzzles in boardrooms.
Yep, to restrict their exhalations. And the fines supposedly raised 3.8 billion yen, which went entirely to funding women's yoga retreats.
So they muzzle the men so the women can learn to breathe deeply. The symbolism is just so thick.
Oh, it's heavy-handed, but it works. And what's really fascinating is how she applies this to aging men, because if young men are toxic, what happens when they get old and can't even offer corporate labor?
Right, she introduces early male retirement, which sounds nice until you realize it's basically forced composting.
Forced composting. Yeah, she says men over 40 are environmental hazards. They exhale too much CO2 while mansplaining history to younger women.
So she proposes these things called manure meadows.
Manure meadows out in Sacramento, where aging men are just rounded up and sent there to compost into fertilizer for community kale gardens.
Or they breed therapy llamas.
Yes, for lesbian collectives in the Pacific Northwest. And they don't even get a gold watch when they retire. They burn the men's dad jeans in a bonfire and use the ashes to fertilize rose gardens at abortion clinics.
It's such a darkened version of how we view aging men. Usually guys become silver foxes or statesmen, while women become invisible. She argues the exact opposite. Older men are just toxic waste.
Toxic waste, exactly. And she even had this concept called feminist calorimetry,
where she claims men consume 60% of office treats but only contribute 3% of the ideas.
Right, like they are literal parasites in the corporate ecosystem. So her solution is to have building managers install estrogen diffusers directly into the HVAC systems of accounting firms.
And within weeks, these fiercely competitive male accountants are supposedly sitting in circles sharing kale chips and weeping during PowerPoints.
It's hilarious, but the mechanism is really dark. By pathologizing normal male biology like breathing and eating, she justifies total, unblinking social control.
Right, it's a biological red scare. If biology is the enemy, extreme measures are just public health policy.
Exactly. But attacking the corporate world and the atmosphere is one thing. Where the book gets truly unsettling is when she goes after the private sphere. The ultimate target here is the family unit.
Because in her view, the public sphere is just a symptom. The family is the actual disease.
Yeah. In chapters 2 and 7, she calls the traditional nuclear family patriarchy's last prison and capitalist malware.
Capitalist malware. That implies the family is a virus corrupting our entire cultural operating system.
So to uninstall it, she proposes the state as the true parent. She uses Finland as her utopian example.
The baby box program.
Yeah. She claims 73% of newborns in Helsinki are shipped Amazon Prime style, with barcodes, directly from the maternity ward to massive state-run nurseries.
And the other 27% are only kept by mothers who accidentally clicked subscribe and save on their epidural paperwork.
Which just completely annihilates the concept of a mother's bond with her child.
Because to Riker, maternal instinct is just a bourgeois myth. It's a capitalist invention to keep women focused on their individual households instead of the collective revolution.
So how do you raise a kid without that bond? She points to California's fictional no tears curriculum. Infants in state nurseries are explicitly not cuddled when they cry because cuddling is heteronormative bondage.
Right, instead they're propped up in front of screens playing TED Talks on surplus labor value.
It's such an absurd image. A baby sucking a pacifier while absorbing Marxist economic theory.
But the ideological purpose is clear. She wants to raise comrades, not children. The state provides everything, so the state is everything.
Which leads directly to the snitch state.
Yeah.
And this is where the satire almost loops around to pure horror.
Oh, the stories of the kids reporting their parents.
Yes. She gleefully talks about this little girl in Toronto, Sophia, who dobs in her dad to the morality police because he cut her spaghetti into heteronormative star shapes, and Sophia gets rewarded with extra dessert rations.
And then there's the 7-year-old in Utah. Her dad grills beef burgers instead of state-approved tofu.
Oh, man. So the kid docks him 50 wokeness points on her government tablet. By morning, Child Protective Services raids the house and sends the dad to a 500-hour patriarchy detox,
where he has to recite Judith Butler quotes from memory while assembling IKEA furniture without the instructions, just to prove he doesn't need to dominate physical objects.
Okay, I have to pause here, because this part genuinely disturbed me. The parallels to historical totalitarian regimes are just so obvious.
Oh, absolutely.
You look at the Stasi in East Germany, or the Hitler Youth, or the Red Guards during the Cultural Revolution. The mechanism is identical. A regime achieves total control when it severs a biological bond between parent and child.
When loyalty transfers from the kitchen table to the state apparatus, the family is dead.
Exactly. So here's my question for you. The author constantly uses the word liberation. Liberation from men, from the nuclear family. How does she reconcile that language of liberation with the mechanics of absolute authoritarian state control?
That's the core contradiction of the whole text. For Riker, liberation is strictly defined as freedom from male authority. To get that, she's perfectly happy to submit to state authority as long as it's governed by feminist Marxist principles.
So she's just trading a patriarchal dictator in the home for a matriarchal dictator in the government.
Right. She thinks the family relies on conditional love from a flawed father figure, but the state offers forced generosity. And to her, forced generosity beats conditional love.
It's a really dark utilitarianism.
Yeah.
Burn down the village to save the women inside it.
Exactly. And to achieve that control, she knows the concept of the father has to be eradicated culturally and historically, too.
Oh, the daddy deprogramming. In chapters 9, 16, and 18, she goes after fathers and male allies. How does she criminalize everyday fatherhood?
Well, she reframes basic father-child bonding as indoctrination. Teaching a son to fish is called toxic outdoorsmanship.
Toxic outdoorsmanship.
Yeah, if a dad takes his kid camping, he has to take re-education classes on decolonizing nature.
Because teaching self-reliance is patriarchal posturing. You're teaching the kid they don't need the collective.
Right, fathers are vectors of infection for ideas like individualism.
It's literally criminalizing competence. But the cultural erasure is even wilder. She goes after the Western literary canon with a flamethrower.
Banning Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, she replaces it with Lady of the Labs, where brilliant stranded girls use CRISPR to edit male chromosomes out of the wildlife. And when boys' reading scores drop by 22%, the state just calls it a necessary correction for historical equity.
Failing is the goal.
Exactly. And burning Peter Pan for Wendy's Workers' Revolution, where Wendy unionizes the Lost Boys to dismantle Neverland's colonial fairy dust economy.
Or the all-witch cast of Macbeth.
Yes. No Macbeth, no Macduff. Just witches standing around a cauldron redistributing King Duncan's crown via democratic consensus. and the play ends in 20 minutes.
And if Shakespeare complains, they'll remind him that Ophelia's corpse has more agency than his living female characters.
It's scorched earth. But she doesn't just hate conservative fathers or patriarchal literature. She has this incredibly toxic hatred for male feminists, the male allies.
No, she calls it gender treason.
Gender treason.
Yeah.
Because she thinks a man calling himself a feminist is just a Trojan horse to dominate the conversation.
Right. She cites a fake study saying male feminists interrupt 300% more often.
Because they want to be the main character of the revolution.
Yeah.
She mentions that Trustnodic, hashtag trending after a male ally organized a women's strike, but made his girlfriend stay up till 3 a.m. writing his speeches while he took megaphone selfies for Instagram.
Performative allyship at its worst.
So her solution is mandatory ankle monitors for male feminists. And it delivers an electric shock every time the guy tries to mansplain intersectional theory.
It's a total rejection of solidarity, which is why she also has to rewrite history to prove men never contributed anything.
Oh, the intellectual kleptomania part, claiming men just stole women's ideas.
Like Pythagoras.
Yes. She says Pythagoras' wife actually invented his geometry theorems in the margins of a margarita recipe.
A margarita recipe found under a Greek olive garden.
A Greek olive garden. I mean, she expects you to just accept that there was an ancient Athenian franchise serving margaritas. And Newton's apple. Oh, total fiction. His mom actually threw a ripe mango at his head because he left dirty alchemy vials on the counter.
It's hallucinatory historical revisionism, but it builds the foundation for the ultimate goal. If men contributed nothing in the past and destroy the present, they have no place in the future.
Which brings us to the endgame, chapters 21, 23, and 24, where the mask slips and we get womb warfare, economic castration, and the literal erasure of men.
Womb warfare is terrifying. She asserts the uterus is a communal weapon against patriarchy.
Hence, Fetbook, Mark Zuckerberg's ultimate engagement farming nightmare. A social media platform just for live streaming abortions.
Right, to eliminate patriarchal shame through public spectacle.
She talks about this Gen Z icon, Zoe, who monetizes her abortion live stream with ads for mobile games like Raid, Shadow Legends, and uses the money to buy Tesla.
To bankrupt pro-life grifters with sheer ad revenue volume.
As Riker writes, if men can profit from their toxicity, we'll profit from our uteri. But she doesn't want to wait a generation to erase men, so she pairs this with economic castration.
Seizing male savings accounts to fund feminist co-ops. Like poor Diego waking up to find his life savings went to a neighborhood co-op selling vulva-shaped pottery.
And confiscating gamers' Steam libraries to fund queer indie developers making text-based empathy simulators.
Or the 500% patriarchy pass surcharge on Lakers tickets. A $100 seat becomes $600, and the extra $500 funds research for artificial robot uteruses.
Because male leisure is stolen time that belongs to the revolution, which leads to the final solution. Literal extinction.
The Sweden CRISPR trials.
Yeah, she claims Sweden is silently deleting the Y chromosome from embryos to have a 100% female birth registry by 2035. And she uses this accidental lab experiment with an all-female mouse utopia as proof that human male extinction would create a war-free paradise.
Calling the Y chromosome a clerical error.
And male tears are just fertilizer for the matriarchy. It's unvarnished biological supremacy. And this is where I struggle. She calls men a glitch and their extinction an upgrade. At what point does this satirical misandry loop back around to become indistinguishable from the exact kind of violent supremacy it claims to fight? It's basically eugenics.
And she anticipates that critique. In the final chapter, she says, I've heard the Nazi comparisons, but fascists target minorities. We're targeting the oppressive majority. Big difference.
Using punching up as a blank check for genocide rhetoric.
Exactly. The psychological architecture is identical to historical fascism. Dehumanize an outgroup, blame them for everything, and propose their physical elimination. The Olive Garden jokes just provide plausible deniability.
It lets you play with authoritarian fantasies without feeling guilty. It is a dizzying, incisive journey through a dark imagination. She puts modern culture wars on steroids and sets them on fire.
It forces you to ask how far you take your beliefs without morality.
Right. Which leaves me with one final provocative thought. In her preface, Riker tells readers to leave 5-star reviews on Amazon, saying algorithms or patriarchy's kryptonite flood them. She knows the internet runs on engagement, whether it's love or rage.
A click is a click.
Exactly. So if algorithms feed on polarization, is it possible this manifesto isn't a political roadmap at all? What if Connie Riker doesn't believe a word of this?
What if it's just perfectly engineered digital bait?
Yes, meticulously designed to monetize the culture wars it mocks. By reading it and getting outraged, are we just funding her hyper-capitalist utopia?
Farming our outrage for a beach house.
Honestly, that makes it a fascinating artifact. You have just explored a truly wild piece of modern edutainment, and I strongly encourage you, the listener, to experience this firsthand. Check out Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books to buy The Family Crisis. Read it, get mad, laugh at the absurdity, and see the weaponized rhetoric for yourself.
And if you want to see how she engages with her audience, follow at Conrad Riker on Substack.
Absolutely. Go follow at Conrad Riker on Substack right now. And please, remember to like and subscribe to our show too. Make sure you never miss another deep dive into the world's most controversial sources. We rely on you to keep these massive conversations going. Until next time, keep questioning everything.